Here are 71 Excel shortcuts that you absolutely need to know. Now, I know what you're thinking. How am I going to memorize 71 shortcuts? I got you. It's actually a lot easier than you think. Today, I'm going to show you a systematic way for how you can get comfortable with each shortcut in just a matter of minutes. Go ahead and download this infographic here, showcasing all 71 keyboard shortcuts, along with this Excel file that we'll be working through. Okay, now before we begin, you may be wondering, do I really need keyboard shortcuts with Excel? I could just use the mouse, right? Wrong. If you spend a lot of time in Excel, you can increase your efficiency dramatically by only using the keyboard. Sometimes I'll be on a call with a client and I'll just be flying through some work. It's literally like I'm conducting a symphony. I'll feel like I'm invincible. Let me show you how you can do that too. To start, we're gonna grab our mouse and throw it out the window because we actually won't need it during this. Sorry, Grandma. No, I'm recording a YouTube video. YouTube. All right, we're gonna start with 14 keyboard shortcuts that I can guarantee you already know. These shortcuts are pretty much universal in any application that you're in. Here, let me show you. The most widely known keyboard shortcut is Ctrl-C to copy. To paste, you could then use Ctrl-V. To cut, you can use Ctrl-X. To select all, Ctrl-A. To save, Ctrl-S. To create a new workbook, Ctrl-N. To open a new workbook, Ctrl-O. Ctrl-P will print. Ctrl-F will find. Ctrl-Z will undo. And then to redo, you can hit Ctrl-Y. Then there are a bunch of formatting ones also that you can find in any application. Ctrl-B will bold something, Ctrl-U will underline, and Ctrl-I will italicize. Boom! We just went through 14 shortcuts. But I know what you're thinking. You want the cool Excel shortcuts that you can impress your friends with. Okay, then let's kick things up a notch and go through what I like to call the essentials. First, you'll want to utilize Control and the arrow keys to move around your cells. Don't make the mistake of holding down the arrow keys till you go to where you want. It'll take you ages. When you hold down Control, it'll jump to either the next active cell or the last active cell as such. Another important shortcut involving your arrow keys is to hold down the Shift key. If you do, you'll highlight all cells from where you started. Combining these two shortcuts is super powerful because now you can both jump to the next or last active cell while also highlighting all of those cells along the way. Want to select the entire column or the whole row? I use these two all the time. Press Shift space to highlight a row and Control space to highlight a column. Now the way I remember that is that Shift is a wide key to reflect a row. Control is a narrow key to reflect a column. Okay, now what if you want to add or delete a row or column? Well, that's also pretty simple. Just hit Control and plus to add a column or row, and then Control and minus to delete a column or row. Speaking of Control, Control-T will convert your range to a table, and then Control-1 will open up the cell dialog box. Beautiful. Now let's talk about F keys. F2 will allow you to edit your cell contents, while F4 will allow you to lock either your columns, rows, or both. F5 will open up the Go To dialog box. Awesome, we are more than a third of the way there, and now we're going to get into the real heart and soul of Excel shortcuts. Introducing the Alt key. First, I'm going to introduce you to two quick shortcuts using the Alt key. Hold down Alt and equals. That'll auto-sum information either directly above you or to the left of your range. Then hold down Alt and down. That'll open up the data validation and any drop-downs tied to your cells. Great! But Alt keys are actually a lot more intuitive than these two combinations. See, most people don't realize that Alt shortcuts are more like key combinations that you tap one after the next instead of holding down all of the buttons at once. Here, let me show you what I mean. Go ahead and tap Alt. Look at what happens. Excel now shows a bunch of letters on our ribbon. You can now tap one of these letters to go to that section of the ribbon and accomplish pretty much any task with your keyboard. Let's apply this to one of my favorite shortcuts to remove these ugly grid lines. To do that, we want to navigate to the View ribbon and uncheck this button right here. How do I navigate to the View ribbon? Well, start by hitting Alt. Now, to get to the View ribbon, we can hit, that's right, W. And then to uncheck grid lines, we simply type V, then G. Nice. Another common thing I do is freeze panes, whether that's the row, the column, or both. To do that, move your arrow keys to the right and bottom of where you want frozen. Then hit Alt, W, F, F. Another good one on this window is to allow me to change windows between different Excel files. Let's say I have another workbook open. I can hit Alt W and then W again to choose which window I want to navigate to. Okay, let's go over a few of my other favorites using the Alt shortcut key. Here I have a column that I want to group. First, I'll select the column. Do you remember the keyboard shortcut for selecting a column? That's right, Ctrl and space. Then I'll highlight the columns to the left by holding down Shift. To group columns, I'll need to navigate to the Data tab and hit Group. To do that, I'll hit Alt, then A, then G for Group. If I want to ungroup, I can again hit Alt, then A, then U for Ungroup. I know a lot of people say keyboard shortcuts are tough to remember, but as you can see, many of them have intuitive names that will become second nature to you once you actually practice. And while we're on the Data tab, let's go over a few other really common shortcuts that you may find over here. To apply data validation, hit Alt, A, V, and then V. After entering in my data validation, I again can go back and hit Enter and hit Alt down to see those options. The Data tab also has a feature that I use often called Remove Duplicates. Here, I'll navigate to my range, hit Alt, A, and then M. Now my dataset only has unique values. Now how about the Formulas ribbon? Let's learn how to create a named range using only my keyboard. Named ranges are a great way to refer to cells quicker and give greater understanding to my formulas. So you can simply hit Alt, then M to get to the Formulas ribbon, then M will define a name. All right. We made our way through the essentials. Now these remaining shortcuts are going to be a total breeze because they're all going to involve the Alt key and the H key for the Home ribbon. But first, now that you made it this far, how about throwing this video a like? What's the keyboard shortcut for giving this video a like? I actually don't know. This is the one exception in which you can use your mouse. Okay, now let's talk about how you can be special. And by being special, I of course mean pasting special. See, copy and paste is so overrated. We're looking to spice things up. And you can do that by copying your data and then hitting Alt, H, V. From here, I have a bunch of options for pasting special. To paste just the formats, I can hit Alt, H, V, R. Look at that. The data stayed the same, but the formats carried over. I like this much better than using the Format Painter button. Okay. Now what if I just want to paste values? I don't want the formulas to carry over. Well, simply again, hit Alt, H, V, and then V for values. Now how about transposing? Hit Alt, H, V, and then T for transpose. Then if you want to just paste the formula without the formatting, it'll be Alt, H, V, and then F for formula. Okay, the last special shortcut is for pasting picture. Now, I love using this one whenever I have a dashboard that I want to bring from Excel to either PowerPoint or an email or really anywhere else. Select the range, press Ctrl-C to copy, then hit Alt, H, V, U. Check it out. Now we have a beautiful image that we can share. Okay, let's continue through the Home ribbon, now moving on to borders. Borders are a great way to add a nice design to your Excel file. And these are probably the most intuitive shortcuts out there. Let me show you what I mean. Again, start by hitting Alt and then H. Then tap B for border. Okay, all these shortcuts now are going to start with this combination of Alt H B. So if I want to apply a border to all directions, I'll hit Alt H B A for all. If I want to remove all the borders, I'll hit Alt H B N for none. If I want to apply a left border, Alt H B L. How do you think I can apply a right border? That's right, you're picking up the hang of this. Alt H B R for right. Simple so far, huh? To assign a top border, it'll be Alt H B P. To assign a bottom border, Alt H B O. Let's actually apply an outer edge border. I can do that by hitting Alt H B S. Cool. These borders are ugly though. Let's make them prettier by changing the color to a more subtle color. To do that, hit Alt H B I. Now I'm going to use my arrow keys to select this gray button right here and press Enter. Much better. Okay, now let's talk about cell formatting. To change the color, hit Alt H F C for color. To change the background, Alt H H. To merge and center, Alt H M C for merge and center. To wrap, Alt H W for wrap. To indent, hit Alt H6. To decrease the indent, Alt H5. Now I can make my text bigger by hitting Alt HFG. To make it smaller, Alt HFK. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about number formatting. To format for percentage, Alt HP for percentage. To format for number, Alt HK. I can change this information to format for currency by hitting Alt HAN. I'll hit Enter. I could also round down 2 decimal places by hitting Alt H9 and Alt H9. To do the opposite, I can hit Alt H0 and you'll see my decimals increasing. Now let's change the date format over here. This is a number value, which is what Excel uses to store dates. Well, I can easily change that by hitting Alt HN and then typing in S. That'll default to short date, and now I can press Enter. Now my dates are formatted. But you could also align from top to bottom just like you can from left to right. So let's go over an example. I'll hit Alt H-A-T for top. For middle, Alt H-A-M. And then for bottom, Alt H-A, you guessed it, B. Okay, now let's go over our last shortcuts on the home ribbon, and we're gonna go to the Format button right over here. All right, so how do we get to the Format button? I'm gonna hit Alt, H, and then O for Format. So let's change the column width. I'll hit W, and I'll change this to an 8. And it looks like I need to actually select it a little bit higher. Let's go Alt, H, O, W, and let's select 10. Okay, now all my values populate. But I can do the same thing for my row height. So I'll go ahead and select the row by hitting Shift and space, then Alt, H, O, H. Now I can change this to, let's say, 18, and the information is a little bit more breathable. But maybe you want to actually auto-fit your cells. Well, that's really simple. Select the entire column using Ctrl and space, then hit Alt, H, O, and this time I for auto-fit. Now everything is auto-fitted. All right, let's talk about how you can now apply a filter. Well, you could hit Alt, H, and then S this time for sort and filter, and then F for the filter. I could then toggle that off by again hitting Alt, H, S, F. Now, fun fact, I could also press Ctrl, Shift, and L to toggle my filter on and off. And that's something important to keep in mind. Many of these shortcuts you could actually do in multiple ways. Now you know my way for getting to 71 of the most common Excel shortcuts out there. And like most things in life, practice makes perfect. At first, it'll take you longer to do this with your keyboard because you'll have to build the muscle memory around each of these shortcuts. But little by little, it'll come second nature to you, and you'll conduct an Excel symphony like a modern Beethoven in no time. Which one was your favorite shortcut? And which ones did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.